Have you ever had the feeling that people are watching you more than usual? You're walking down the street waiting for the subway, sitting quietly having a coffee, and suddenly it happens again. That fixed stare, that person who seems to have been looking at you longer than usual. At first, your mind looks for a quick explanation. Maybe there's something strange about your clothes. Maybe your hair is messy. Maybe you have something on your face. You discreetly check yourself, trying to figure out what's going on, but everything seems exactly the same as always. Then the question arises, why does it happen? Maybe you've experienced it for years, or maybe it's something you've only started to notice recently. Interestingly, it doesn't always cause discomfort. Some looks seem to come from admiration, curiosity, or even a certain fascination. But others have a different energy. They're the kind of looks that make it feel like you're being analyzed, as if that person were trying to understand something about you without knowing exactly what it is, as if your presence provoked a reaction that even they can't explain. Here's where it gets interesting. Maybe it has nothing to do with your appearance. It's not simply a matter of how you dress, your physical features, or drawing attention in an obvious way. There is something much deeper related to the way your presence impacts others. For centuries, different spiritual traditions have spoken about that invisible force that some people seem to radiate, a kind of presence that can't be easily measured, but it can be perceived. The Mexican researcher and scientist Jacobo Grinberg dedicated much of his work to studying the relationship between consciousness, perception, and the way we interact with reality. His research suggested that there is a deeper connection between our mind and the environment than we are normally able to understand. But there's something even more intriguing: personal magnetism. There are people who walk into a room and, without doing anything special at all, manage to make everyone notice their presence. They don't need to speak louder. They don't need to show off. They don't need to seek approval. There's just something about them that draws attention. It's as if they transmit a different frequency, a different way of being present in the world, which others perceive even if they can't explain it rationally, both children and adults. For example, they usually react in a very particular way to certain people. They approach, trust, or show interest for no apparent reason. Some people feel an immediate attraction to you, while others may feel uncomfortable or even get defensive without understanding why. And maybe you've experienced it at some point. You walk into a place and notice that something changes slightly. The conversation seemed to pause for a second. Someone turns their head. Several people start looking at you, not because you're trying to stand out. Well, that strange guy didn't seem to be from this world. However, wait a second. Don't keep watching this video like it's just another one. Ask yourself this question: when was the last time you really listened to what your intuition was trying to tell you? Jacobo Grinberg investigated how our consciousness influences the way we perceive reality. Maybe that feeling that there's something different about you isn't something you should ignore. Keep listening, but this time pay attention to what awakens inside you. And if you ever felt that others sense something in you that they can't explain, comment, "There's something in me that I can't ignore." Imagine you're walking down a completely dark road at night, and in the distance a small light appears. You don't have to think about it. Your eyes go straight to it. Why? Because the light breaks the uniformity of the darkness. Your attention is drawn to what stands out from the surroundings. Something similar happens with certain people. You can't see their energy with your eyes, but you can perceive the effect it generates. There's something in the way they look, the way they move, the way they express themselves, or simply in their mere presence that makes others notice them. If you constantly have the feeling that people are watching you, maybe it's not about your appearance. Maybe there's something about the way you are present that communicates more than you imagine, because many times your vibe speaks before your words. But what does it really mean to have elevated energy? From a spiritual perspective, everything in the universe can be understood as movement and energy. Each person expresses a certain frequency influenced by their thoughts, emotions, experiences, and level of consciousness. When someone begins a deep process of self-discovery, when they stop running from their wounds, face their hidden sides, and achieve greater inner peace, something changes. Their way of relating to the world changes. Jacobo Grinberg explored how human consciousness could influence our perception of reality and how our internal experience is much more connected to the outside world than we usually imagine. When a person achieves greater inner harmony, they begin to transmit a different feeling, a sense of coherence that others can perceive even without knowing their story. That magnetism doesn't depend on physical beauty. It manifests in other ways. It can take the form of natural charisma. People who enjoy being with you even if you don't talk much. People who feel at peace just by being near you. It can feel like an intense presence. You arrive at a place, and even if you're not seeking attention, someone notices your arrival. It can show up as an unexpected connection. People who barely know you end up telling you personal things, seeking your opinion, or getting comfortable with you quickly. And it can also generate opposite reactions. Some people may instantly admire you, while others may feel uncomfortable for no clear reason. Not because you are superior to anyone, but because when a person works deeply on themselves, they begin to project authenticity that can be hard to ignore. Energy reveals what words try to hide. We often believe that the attraction we generate depends solely on our appearance. But we've all met people who, even though they don't meet traditional beauty standards, have an unforgettable presence. And we've also met physically attractive people who, after spending a few minutes near them, give off a heavy or distant vibe. Why does this happen? Because true magnetism doesn't come from outward appearance. It comes from your relationship with yourself. People who have worked through their wounds, who have stopped acting to please others, and who have learned to show themselves as they truly are, develop a different kind of presence. It's as if they stopped hiding their own light. And in a world where many people live disconnected from themselves, someone who is truly present stands out, like a lighthouse in the fog. So, how do you know if your presence is impacting others? Sometimes no one needs to tell you. You just notice it. There are moments when you arrive at a place and you sense a slight change in the atmosphere. Interactions that seem too precise to be mere coincidences. People who approach you without knowing exactly why. If strangers often look at you, if children seem to react differently around you, if animals feel comfortable near you, or if people tend to open up to you quickly, it could be a sign that your presence conveys something deeper. These are some signs that your energy is being perceived by those around you. The first one, persistent looks from strangers. It's probably the most obvious sign. You're on the street, in a coffee shop, on public transportation, and you get that feeling again that someone is watching you. Sometimes it's a look of curiosity, other times it seems like admiration, and in some cases it's a mix of confusion and interest. But why does it happen? Because anything that stands out from the ordinary draws attention. Many people live trapped in their thoughts, in their daily problems, and in an automatic routine. When someone with a different presence appears, someone who conveys calm, confidence, or a different way of being in the world, it breaks that pattern. And even if they can't explain it, they sense it. Something curious can even happen. Some people feel like they already know you. They look at you as if they've seen your face before, as if there's a strange familiarity they can't place. Maybe it's a deep connection in consciousness. Maybe it's a resonance we still don't fully understand. But the truth is that some people awaken a sense of mystery, as if there's something about them that others try to figure out. Children stare at you or smile at you for no apparent reason. And although many people overlook it, young children haven't yet developed all the filters that we adults acquire over the years. They don't overanalyze, they don't judge based on appearances, and they don't try to interpret everything logically. They simply perceive. That's why, when a baby or a small child stares at you for a long time, they smile at you, even if you haven't done anything special. Or they even come up to you spontaneously. It could be a sign that something about your presence makes them feel calm. Children usually respond to authenticity. They don't react as much to social masks, to the image we try to project, or to the character we show to the world. They can sense when someone is being genuine. When a person conveys calmness, a sense of safety, and consistent energy, children usually feel comfortable around them, even if they're a complete stranger. Sometimes something even more curious happens. A child might stare at you with a strange intensity, as if they were trying to perceive something that adults, with so much conditioning and so many distractions, have stopped noticing. But it's not just children who respond to energy. Animals do too. Animals have a much more direct way of perceiving the world. They don't get stuck on words, appearances, or the image you try to show. They respond to what you truly convey. If dogs or cats approach you without being called, seek to be near you, watch you attentively, or seem to trust you quickly, it may be a sign that they sense a calm and balanced presence. Animals usually seek out what makes them feel safe. A stable energy gives them a sense of calm. Although each animal has its own way of reacting, dogs usually respond strongly to a sense of protection, affection, and emotional openness. Cats, on the other hand, often seem to be attracted to people who give off a warmer sense of calm and quiet. And if at some point an animal moves away from you, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It may simply be a sign to observe how you are feeling internally at that moment. Our emotions, our stress, and our mental state also influence the way we relate to our environment. Another interesting sign occurs when you notice small changes in the environment upon arriving at a place. Maybe at some point you entered a room and felt that something had changed. The conversation took a different turn. The energy of the group changed. Some people started to talk more. Others became quieter. It's as if your arrival slightly shifted the dynamic in that space. Some people naturally foster openness and connection. They make others relax, open up more, or feel a sense of trust. But the opposite also happens. Some people may become more tense, distant, or reserved even though you haven't done anything at all. Not because you said something wrong. Simply because the presence of a person can trigger an internal reaction in those around them. And here's a very interesting phenomenon: Scopaesthesia. Scopaesthesia is the feeling that someone is looking at you even before you see them directly. It has probably happened to you. You feel something, you turn your head, and sure enough, someone was watching you. Although science still debates exactly how this phenomenon works, many people relate it to intuition and our ability to pick up subtle signals from the environment. We are constantly receiving information, small movements, changes in someone's posture, tiny sounds, patterns that our brain detects before we become aware of them. When a person develops a greater sensitivity to their environment, they may start to notice these signals more often. It doesn't necessarily mean paranoia. It can simply be a more refined perception. And if this happens repeatedly in your life, it might indicate that You're more aware of certain details that other people overlook. Your presence might be having more impact than you imagine. If many of these signs seem familiar to you, maybe you've noticed that your way of being in the world generates responses in others. Because authentic energy is hardly ever overlooked. You can try to fit in. You can try to reduce your presence. You can try not to draw attention. But when a person works deeply on themselves, something changes. The way they look, speak, walk, and relate to others starts to convey a different kind of confidence. The key is not to hide that presence. It's in understanding it, in learning to use it consciously. But here comes the part that many people don't expect. Because an energy that attracts can also make people uncomfortable. The same presence that inspires some can provoke resistance in others. The energetic contrast in its challenges. When a person begins to live from a deeper level of consciousness, not everyone reacts in the same way. Some feel inspired, others feel curious. But some may experience rejection, discomfort, or even some hostility. And this doesn't always have to do with you. Sometimes your presence works like a mirror. It reflects things that other people still don't want to face within themselves. A person who lives more authentically can remind someone of what they've been avoiding. That person can show them a freedom, a confidence, or an inner peace that person hasn't found yet. And that can generate different responses. Some people are drawn because they see something they want to develop in themselves. Others may feel uncomfortable because your way of being challenges the way they are used to living. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. The light doesn't hurt. It simply reveals what was hidden. That's why, in environments filled with stress, conflict, or negativity, a more balanced presence can create a very strong contrast. Maybe you've walked into a place and felt a strange tension without understanding why. Or you noticed disapproving looks even before you had spoken to anyone. It could be that you simply created a contrast with the prevailing energy in the place. Because when someone arrives with more calmness, more awareness, or more authenticity to a space dominated by chaos, that difference becomes evident. And many times, what confronts our own shadows is not always convenient. In some cases, this energetic difference can cause strange reactions in others. Some people may distrust you without a clear reason, reject you without knowing you, or try to minimize what you do and say. But many times this has nothing to do with you, but with what you represent to them. Your presence can act as a mirror, revealing inner aspects that others prefer to ignore. Their insecurities, fears, or shortcomings can end up being projected onto you. For example, an insecure person might interpret your calmness as arrogance. Someone who represses their emotions may feel uncomfortable with your authenticity because it reminds them of what they don't allow themselves to express. It's not something personal, it's a reaction to their own internal process. But there's another challenge: energetic exhaustion. When you're a sensitive person, certain environments or interactions can leave you completely drained. After a meeting, being surrounded by many people, or spending time in overwhelming places, you may feel the need to isolate yourself and regain your balance. This doesn't mean distancing yourself from the world, but rather learning to manage your energy. So, how can you protect your energy without dimming your light? First, by setting boundaries. You don't have to absorb the emotions, problems, or moods of everyone around you. It's also important to consciously choose your environments. Surround yourself with people and places that encourage your growth instead of wearing you down. And remember something fundamental: what others project onto you says more about their inner world than about your true worth. Taking care of your energy through moments of silence, meditation, rest, or connecting with nature helps you maintain your balance. Because being a bright person doesn't mean carrying the whole world on your shoulders. Accepting your own light also means learning to protect it. However, many people are afraid to accept who they really are. Over the years, we learned that standing out can bring criticism, that being different can lead to rejection, and that it's safer to fit in. But trying to diminish your essence to make others feel comfortable comes at a price. Over time, you start to disconnect from yourself, to act from behind a mask, and to live a life that doesn't feel completely your own. The key is not to fit in at any cost. It's about accepting your nature and allowing your authenticity to be expressed. When you are true to yourself, the right people begin to draw closer to you.
Comienzan a acercarse.
Opportunities align and life flows with greater harmony. But when you try to become someone you're not, frustration appears and you feel out of place. Being authentic means stopping hiding out of fear of judgment, accepting that not everyone will resonate with you, and trusting that those who truly connect with you will naturally come into your life. This is where an essential element comes in: intuition. Many times, the mind looks for explanations for everything, but intuition perceives things that we still don't know how to explain. Learning to listen to it helps you recognize which people, places, and decisions are aligned with you. It also reminds you of something important. You're not here to save everyone. Your purpose is not to convince anyone or to carry other people's burdens. Your only responsibility is to live from your truth. Because when a person allows themselves to be authentic, their impact comes naturally. You don't need to prove who you are. You don't need to struggle for everyone to understand you. You just need to live from your true self. And those who are ready to recognize that light will recognize it. In a world where many people live disconnected from themselves, more and more people are starting to wake up, looking for something deeper than material things, and reconnecting with that light, that inner light that was always there. If you've ever felt that your energy is different, that your presence causes reactions in others without even trying, maybe you're going through a process of greater awareness. You are not alone. Many people have gone through the same doubts, the same feeling of not fitting in, and the same questions about why they perceive the world in a different way. Because every time someone decides to show who they are without fear, they also open the door for others to do the same. Accepting your light doesn't mean feeling superior. It means recognizing your essence and allowing it to be expressed. When you stop hiding who you are, the way you live can inspire others to reconnect with themselves. After everything we've explored, there's a fundamental idea. If people react to your presence, if children feel comfortable with you, if animals seem to sense something different, and if you strongly sense the atmosphere around you, maybe it's not just a coincidence. Your presence has an impact. Not because you're more important than anyone else, but because there's something in you that connects with a deep part that many people have forgotten: their own authenticity. Sometimes a simple look on the street has nothing to do with your appearance. Maybe that person doesn't even know why they're looking at you. Maybe there's something in the way you are, the way you look, or the way you move that sparks a familiar feeling, as if you remind them of a part of themselves they left behind. Without saying a word, you can remind someone that there's another way to live. That's why you shouldn't try to make yourself small just to avoid drawing attention. Don't diminish your essence to fit into places where your authenticity makes others uncomfortable. Your difference is not a flaw. It could be a sign that you're walking a more conscious path. The key is to trust your process. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to keep moving forward with honesty, listening to your intuition, and learning from every experience. Every encounter, every reaction, and every moment of discomfort are also part of your evolution. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it's a tool. Even if sometimes you don't understand why you perceive certain things or why some people react in a certain way, that doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. There are many people going through a similar process, discovering who they are and learning to express themselves without fear. And every time you choose to be authentic, you also give others permission to do the same. The world needs more people who live from their essence. People who inspire with the way they act, who walk with confidence, and who remind others that even in the most difficult moments, there is always the possibility of awakening. So if you ever thought that being different was a problem, remember this: your light is not a mistake. It's a part of your journey. Don't hide it. Don't dim it. Because when someone dares to shine, they can also help others find their own light.